It was a quiet and beautiful night, with bright stars in the sky, and through the window behind his twinkling Christmas tree, Avery could see that there was a blanket of snow beginning to fall very softly, just as he began to drift off into a deep, magical sleep. He awoke in the clearing of a forest, and all around him were snowy trees that glowed from the light of the moon. And as he looked up above the treetops, he saw a sky filled with millions of stars. He had never seen a sky so amazing in all his life. He was frozen in wonder and joy and did not want to move even an inch from the place where he was standing. Then, very gradually, he became aware of the sounds of faint music, of children laughing and fires crackling, and when he turned to see where the music was coming from, he noticed for the first time the flickering lights of a village. There was a path that led down towards the light, and a single signpost that read, "The Secret of Christmas," up ahead. His heart filled with anticipation. The secret of Christmas, what could it be? His imagination ran wild, and as it did, so did he. He raced down the path, the trees blurred at his sides. He ran and he ran and he ran even more. But as he ran further, the forest got darker, and finally he had to stop, because it was so dark that he couldn't see where he was going. So he caught his breath and stood still. And then suddenly, for the first time since he entered the wood, he realized that he was very much alone, and he became more afraid than he had ever been. He didn't know which way to turn, and he felt like crying because it was now too quiet and the pitch black all around him was closing in. Then, just as he was sure he would cry, he saw a faint red orb through the trees, and it seemed to be floating toward him. It bobbed up and down very gently, and he wasn't sure why, but he wasn't scared of it. He could somehow tell it was good. Then the outline of a deer became clear, and finally its face, and Avery could not believe his eyes. "It's you!" "Hello, Avery," said Rudolph as his bright smile came into full view. "I was so scared." "I know you were. That's why I'm here. I'm here so that you will not be afraid. I'm here to illuminate the path for you and to show you the secret of Christmas." "So you know what the secret of Christmas is?" Rudolph laughed. "Of course I do. I know it very well. But I am not it, and that is a very important distinction indeed." "What do you mean?" I mean, listen. I know what it's like to be made fun of and laughed at. They wouldn't let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. I know what it's like to be misunderstood, but I also know what it's like to be courageous, and I know what it's like to forgive. And when Santa called on me that Christmas Eve to guide his sleigh, I knew I had to do it. Even though the night was dark and horrifying, I knew I had to do it. And even if I failed and the other reindeer continued to call me names, I knew I had to do it. But why would you want to help those other reindeer when they were so mean to you? Why would you risk yourself for them even when they didn't deserve your help? Rudolph smiled fondly. "Very good, Avery. That is the right question. Why would I enter into the darkness to give my enemies the light?" His nose glowed as if his purpose in the wood had been fulfilled. "Very good," he said again. "But remember, I am not the secret. I am a signpost too, a clue. The secret is up ahead. Come, follow me." They set out through the wood with Rudolph's bright nose lighting the path, and Avery found that he was no longer afraid. And as they walked, he thought to himself, what does it mean he is a signpost? And just as he finished thinking it, he looked up and saw a sign that read, "Almost to Shivering Lake." "Shivering Lake?" asked Avery. "Oh yes, one of my dearest friends lives there. Come and see." Avery followed the little deer and wondered who they might be meeting next and how Rudolph was going to help him learn the secret of Christmas. The rhythmic sound of sleigh bells became louder and then mingled with the familiar sounds of play, and from the top of the hill, Avery could see that the village below had glowing streetlights and a large frozen pond in the centre of town. Children were whizzing and zagging across the ice as they chased after a wonderfully large and perfectly jolly-looking snowman with a giant silk hat perched atop his round head. "Is that who I think it is?" "It sure is," laughed Rudolph. Avery raced down the hill toward the children. He heard them shouting and singing the name Frosty. He ran to the first child he saw and asked, "Is that really Frosty the Snowman?" The little girl giggled. "Of course it is, silly." "So he's real." "The absolute realist. He's the kindest and best friend you could ever wish for. He's even nice to the bullies, and he always picks the new kids first in every game, and he never lets anyone ever feel alone, even when they make really big mistakes. There's no one like Frosty." Avery smiled excitedly. "He sounds really special. He sounds like the kind of friend I'd like to know." The girl laughed. "Well, come along then. Frosty loves nothing more than welcoming newcomers and letting them join in the fun. Here, put these on." Handed him a pair of brown ice skates with shiny blades. Avery looked back at Rudolph, who nudged him toward the frozen lake. Frosty was shimmering in the moonlight, and his laugh sounded like 100 silver bells. Avery couldn't help but laugh as he approached this great, jolly snowman. "Why, hello there. Who do I have the pleasure of meeting?" Frosty turned towards Avery and smiled, gesturing to him to come closer. "Hi, I'm Avery," Avery said nervously. "Very good to know you. Would you like to join a game of hockey?" All the other children cheered for Avery to join. "Okay." "Watch me and I'll teach you, Avery," said Frosty, showing Avery where to stand and how to hold the broomstick. The children raced across the lake and chased Frosty and the ice puck in every direction. They laughed and swirled and squealed. Avery couldn't remember ever having more fun in his entire life, or ever having a better friend than Frosty. They played for what seemed like forever, and he thought that the game would never end. But then, very suddenly, a strong wind began to blow, and everyone came to a stop. They knew that something bad was about to happen, and they wished that it wouldn't. Frosty raised his hand to the wind and shook his head. "It is time, my friends." Avery looked around. Time? Time for what? Not for Frosty to... His eyes spilled over with tears. "Frosty, why?" asked Avery. "Why do you have to leave? Can't we be friends forever?" "That is the right question." Frosty looked into Avery's eyes and then down at himself, smiling. "Snow melts, and I can't last forever, but the thing that brings me to life can." "What do you mean?" "You'll soon understand. It's my time to leave you now. I was never meant to be permanent. I am only a clue," he said, beaming, and something in his eyes told Avery he was telling the truth. Then Frosty smiled again and began walking away from the small knot of children and toward the deep woods. They watched as he walked and then disappeared into a flash of bright snowflakes. The children stared from the edge of the lake, their eyes still fixed on the spot where Frosty had disappeared. The snow fell in gentle whispers, and Avery wiped his eyes. He turned then to Rudolph, who stood patiently by. "Avery, come now. The secret of Christmas is near." Avery nodded and followed Rudolph into the woods once more. The snow crunched beneath their feet, and with each step the forest grew lighter, as if the stars above were shining just for them. Then the sound of animals, faint at first, then louder, until they could hear clearly the soft bleating of sheep and the bustle of hooves and feet. When they finally emerged from the trees, Avery paused, surprised. Before them was a manger scene, glowing with an otherworldly light. The stars above seemed to gather their brilliance from what was below, a simple stable, and inside the animals surrounded a wooden trough filled with hay, a sheep, a goat, a donkey, and there inside a baby lay swaddled at the centre of everything. His tiny hands lay open, and his little eyes looked up to the stars as though he were holding them together in his gaze. A dusty shepherd entered the manger and knelt. His face was filled with awe. Avery stepped forward, nervous with anticipation. "Is this?" Rudolph bowed his head reverently. "Yes, the secret. Everything you love about Christmas begins here." Avery felt his knees buckling, and he knelt down to the soft earth. He looked around and saw, to his amazement, other figures coming out of the forest to behold the child. Santa Claus, with the most jovial smile, carried a large sack on his back. The Nutcracker marched forward with regal precision. The Sugar Plum Fairy moved gracefully toward the child, her gown sparkling like frost. Even Jack Frost stood nearby, his icy demeanour softening in the warm glow. One by one they approached the baby, each laying down something of great value: a golden bell, a sword, a shimmering crown of spun sugar, a perfect snowflake, as delicate and intricate as a star. Avery watched the procession, his heart swelling with a feeling entirely new. He had no gift to give, but as he came closer and looked deep into the starry eyes of the child, something told him he didn't need one, so he offered the only thing he could, his heart. The baby smiled, and the room pulsed with a glow that was brighter than the starry night. Then Avery felt something pierce him and fill up every corner of his soul, and it also filled the manger, and the characters of Christmas, and the forest they'd come from, and the entire stretch of sky above, as it rung out 1,000,000,000 miles in every direction. "This is the secret," he whispered, surprising himself, and then more loudly, "It's his love. It fills up every good thing, and it will take away every bad thing." And then, finally, almost as a shout, "It will last forever, and it will make all things new." And then, just as suddenly as it had all begun, he felt himself being pulled back. The light faded, the manger scene dissolved, and the sound of bells and laughter echoed away. Avery awoke in his bed, his cheeks damp with tears. He sat up and looked out of the window. The snow was still falling softly, and the heavens above, like star-filled eyes, looked down at him. The Christmas tree glowed warmly in the corner of his room, and for the first time he understood its light. He whispered to himself, thinking again of Rudolph and Frosty and everything merry and bright. He is the secret of Christmas. Thanks for watching. This video was animated by our friends at Give the Reason, so make sure to subscribe to their channel for more great content as they help equip believers to give the reason for the hope they have in Jesus Christ, and to give a testimony to those who are seeking answers. In addition, Daily Dose of Wisdom has partnered with Give the Reason to author and illustrate an accompanying children's book, and you can order your copy right now using the link in the description. It's the perfect gift for Christmas. Until next time, all of us here at Daily Dose of Wisdom and Give the Reason hope that you have a very Merry Christmas.